From Nutrien Ag Solutions, this is Senior Meteorologist Andrew Pritchard with your Canadian Prairie weather story for Wednesday, September 18th, 2024. Thanks for joining me on another Wednesday. If you missed the update last week, I'm moving the weekly updates, the video updates, from Monday mornings to Wednesday morning to deal with the many U.S. and Canada holidays that are always throwing my week off, pushing things back. Some weeks that's fine, some weeks it is not. So Wednesday is the day going forward. We have a midweek storm system. We talked about this last week, the parade of storm systems that would be bringing some corridors of heavy rain. Well, this was kind of the last one in the big parade there, the last really big one. So some heavy rain is lifting into portions of Saskatchewan and Manitoba. We'll continue to see that over the next 24 to 72 hours. A little drier further to the west across portions of Alberta, though we do have some trailing showers to talk about. And then again, left this bullet point from the last week, still no early cold to talk about. We'll see some shots of cooler air following this midweek storm system, but in general, temperatures still staying on the mild side. And then as we look off to the north, for our source region, for any shot of early cold or really early frost, just not quite seeing that just yet. Now those temperatures as we get started, again, some cooler air coming in on the backside. It's only 3 degrees in the Calgary vicinity here on Wednesday morning. So getting closer to that frost mark, but not quite there in most areas. Some of the higher elevations perhaps flirting with that, and some of the higher mountainous elevations may see some snowfall here over the next week or so. But temperatures in generally across the rest of the prairie in the 10 to 15 degree range here on Wednesday morning. Here's the storm system, a little closer view. You got some heavy rain in a band there, maybe some thunder lifting into southeastern portions of Saskatchewan, southwestern Manitoba. Again, the cooler air wrapping in on the backside where it's a little bit drier on Wednesday morning, but rainy to the east, a little drier in the west, drier and cooler as we kind of just look at the next 72 hours of, this is the next 7 days of precipitation. You see that corridor here where we're seeing more than 1 to 2 inches of rain. I apologize, we went metric here on you. 1 to 2 inches there, so in that 50 plus millimeter range across portions of Saskatchewan. A little bit less as you head further east into the rest of, south and eastern Saskatchewan. I'm sorry if I misspoke there. Southwest Saskatchewan seeing the heaviest rain. Southeast Saskatchewan a little closer to the 1 inch mark, probably 25 to 50 millimeters there. And then the same thing as you head east into portions of central and southern Manitoba. Now, as we look at the next 72 hours, a lot of this falls in the next few days. So here's the next week. This is just the next few days, pretty much unchanged there. As we take a little bit closer look, again, you see the details there. Heaviest rain in southern and western portions of Saskatchewan. Slightly lighter totals as you head east across the rest of Saskatchewan and Manitoba. And then the drier spot where we're talking about a trace, maybe up to, a half an inch, getting into that 12 to 20 millimeter range across the rest of Alberta. Now, the reason for the activity here midweek, again, here's the big trough across western North America. Here is the little spin that's lifting into portions of Saskatchewan and Manitoba now, bringing all of the heavy precipitation, but this broader trough continues. And then as you look off to the west, across the Pacific Ocean, the North Pacific here into the Gulf of Alaska, you see this big area of high pressure, low pressure over Alaska, very fast flow in between there. So that's the reason the pattern is very active right now, but we are going to swing that pendulum from very, stormy, heavy precipitation across the region to a drier spell as we head through the next 7 days or so. So this is what it looks like the next few days. You see a couple of systems swinging in. We'll pause this and kind of walk through. Again, starting off midweek, here's the first low, much of the heavier precipitation lifting in over the next 48 hours. This is the trailing system, though. This would be one that we would have to watch for that frost risk if we had a lot of cold air up to the north. So this little low comes swinging on the backside, does bring a shot of cooler air. This also kind of signals the beginning of a pattern change, though. You see the very fast flow across the Gulf of Alaska now, that low expanding into the Gulf of Alaska. That's going to force higher pressure across the Canadian Prairie. So as we get into mid next week, we're talking about a very different look. So here's what we got Wednesday, September 18th, big trough. Then as we get to Wednesday, September 25th, a big ridge across the region. This is a warmer, drier pattern across Western Canada. So the jet stream winds that follow here, again, the big patch of fast upper level flow coming around the base of that trough. That's what's got all the precipitation ongoing across the Western Canada, across the Canadian Prairie here. This continues to evolve over the next few days. This is Friday, Saturday. Here comes that little shot of cooler air and some showers late week into the early part of the weekend before we kind of slow down. You see this extended Pacific jet streak, this little almost wave break that you see right here. That's going to bring that higher pressure, that ridge into the region as we get into mid next week. That is going to force any heavy precipitation off to the south. That'll be accompanying this little patch of stronger jet stream winds off to the south, with the subtropical jet Meanwhile, the very amplified polar jet is going to be ridging out over Western Canada. That's, again, a drier, warmer pattern across the region. As we look at the precipitation, then just kind of zooming in, the European model, this will take us through the next few days. You see right here the upper level low across Montana early on Monday morning, lifting into kind of the southwestern corner of Manitoba, the southeastern corner of Saskatchewan by the time we get to tomorrow morning. So 7 a.m. on Thursday, the area of low pressure situated along the Saskatchewan-Manitoba border with North Dakota there. This pulls away Thursday night into Friday. That's when the trailing low sweeps in, so cooler, cloudier, some showers for your Friday and Saturday as this area of low pressure sweeps in. And we'll begin that transition then on the back half of the weekend toward drier and warmer into early next week. So probably a cooler, cloudier, showery weekend in most corners of the prairie. And then as we get into the early part of next week, higher upper level pressure going to bring in some drier, warmer conditions across the region. So looking at the probabilities here from the European model, the European ensemble model, the next 7 days on the left, your probability of picking up a half an inch. On the right, the probability of picking up 1 inch or more over the next 7 days. And again, the corridor of heaviest precipitation going to be just east of the Alberta-Saskatchewan border. Portions of western and southwestern Saskatchewan picking up quite a bit of rain here on the backside of that upper level low, and then certainly some corridors of heavy rain across the rest of Saskatchewan into Manitoba. You just get to that 40 to 50% chance of picking up an inch or more. It's going to be a little bit more scattered with those heavier totals. And then to the west, Alberta, you're just kind of missing out. The pattern's moving and leaving you behind. It will too leave Saskatchewan and Manitoba behind in the next 48 to 72 hours, though everyone gets that chance for some cooler, cloudy, showery weather over the weekend. That's just not going to result in a lot in the way of meaningful precipitation. A lot of that falls the next couple of days. Your next 10 days, again, a lot of this is in that near term. Not a lot of, high confidence, heavy precipitation as we talk about days 3 to 10, a lot of it in the next 3 days or so. That heavy corridor of rain across western and southwestern Saskatchewan, and then trailing off to the east, drier to the west. Those temperatures over the next 10 days, again, a shot of cooler air over the weekend, but we ridge out, we turn warmer and drier next week with no obvious shot of any incoming cold air. So we do have some variability to those temperatures. 20 degrees the next couple of days in Calgary. That shot of cooler air really settles in on Friday, a high of only 13, with an overnight low of 3 degrees. That would be Friday night into Saturday morning in Calgary. So again, getting closer, but then we rebound there, those upper level lows. Those overnight lows back into the upper single digits to near 10 degrees as we head into next week. Those high temperatures in the low 20s, very similar in Edmonton. Again, getting closer, we will be flirting with that frost mark in some areas if you are especially prone in some of the higher elevations. Very close Friday night into Saturday morning for that first frost of the season. Not sure that we'll get there in any sort of widespread fashion just yet, but very close. It's just kind of the only chance, though. If it's going to happen early in anywhere, it's going to be Friday night, Saturday morning, before we rebound to a warmer pattern over the weekend into early next week. Now, the cold air is much less pronounced as you head further to the east, so if anyone's going to frost, it's going to be northwest, north central Alberta, not quite as close as you head further east. That overnight low around 5 in Regina on Saturday morning, 4 on Sunday morning, very similar in Saskatoon. Again, as low as 4 degrees or so on Sunday morning. Winnipeg, even warmer still, so not even getting close to sniffing out that first frost in the southern Manitoba vicinity. Winnipeg specifically 9 degrees for your overnight low at the coolest here Sunday into Monday. So we are seeing those seasonal transitions. We've got variability, some variety in the weather. Heavy rain this week, drier next week, a little shot of cooler air this week with some this weekend with some warmer temperatures as we get into next week.